Hello, dear ones. I am very excited to announce that Made in the Image, a new collection of poetry, is coming out from Canon Press this very week. It's available to order now, and in fact, they're going to be released tomorrow, Tuesday, May 16th. So go ahead and follow the link below right now to go ahead and buy a copy. What I'm going to do this week is read you poetry every day. Today I'm actually going to read the eponymous Made in the Image poem. And through this week, I'll be reading one poem a day. At least one of them will be not from this collection. I want to tell you a little bit about this collection, why it's being put out, and then I'm close to having enough for another. So that conversation is going to happen soon, and it's not necessarily a Canon Press conversation. The thing I'm excited about with Canon Press is that this is a brand new audience for me, for my poetry, and for poetry generally. Those of you who have been following the channel and who know me personally know that part of the great crusade of my life has been to encourage all Christians to embrace a poetic lifestyle, to see the poetry in everything, and to see that written and spoken poetry is simply a finer, more acute, maybe more focused expression of how we should all be living, which is aware, right, in an aware way, aware of truth, beauty, and goodness, and of the fact that those things they come together. They come from God, and they come together. So lyric is the expression of that. I'm very excited that this is a new audience. And in fact, those of you who purchased my first collection of poetry from Jovial Press, link below as well, will see that there are a few repeats. There's lots of new poetry, but there's also lots of old poetry. And the big reason for that is that, we want this new audience to see this stuff and to value this stuff. And the truth is, I'm already having conversations, as the audiobook has been out for a little while, with people who, I don't think that we would have had this conversation about my poetry and therefore about poetry if not for the fact that it had come out from Canon Press. So I'm very, very excited. Do get below and click, buy the book, support poetry, support me, support Canon Press's vision for making poetry a part of the Christian life. I mean, that is why they're publishing. There's actually a little poetry bundle. That's why they're printing my poetry, a collection of Douglas Wilson poetry, and also a collection of Reformed poets throughout history. So kudos to Canon for valuing poetry and wanting Christians to partake. I'm going to read to you Made in the Image, and then just keep your eye out for videos coming out throughout the week of me sharing with you other poetry. I have an interview coming up at Canon. I think this book is the Book of the Month selection. Yuri Brito, who many of you will know, a pastor in Florida, one of the people behind Athanasius Press, and a valued friend, will be interviewing me soon as well. So let's get this conversation rolling, and let's just talk poesy. But yeah, so Made in the Image. To wield a world, to work a deed, to speak it soft or stern at need, whether with much chanting or cheering with delight, or thundering strength forth from the height, this is to God's only given, and getting should be dear. But the Lord of love, who allows no peer, has untwisted our tongues and tooled us new, to wield our words and whole world's hue. Thank you, daughter. You want to come say hi with your morning hair? My daughter just brought me some coffee. This is Mara, everybody. Thanks.
Yep.
Okay, so I've got my coffee, having just finished this poem for you guys. And with the other poetry I'll be reading throughout the week, I'll be talking about, if you've ever been to a poetry reading, they can often get sort of belly button gazy, and this is why I wrote the poem, etc. And there's such a thing as over-explaining the poem. But I am going to talk a little bit about, well, why did I write this poem, but also the techniques I used. For example, in this poem, I used a lot of a very heavy rhythm, but also one of the outstanding features of any Germanic poetry, including English language poetry, something that English always had a complicated relationship with because of all the Latinate influence in English poetry as well. But that is alliteration, right? Starting words, like if you've ever read Beowulf, pa, 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 starting words with that same consonantal sound. So I'm going to read it again to you guys so you guys can enjoy that alliteration. To wield a world, to work a deed, to speak it soft or stern at need, whether with much chanting or cheering with delight, or thundering strength forth from the height, this is to God's only given, and getting should be dear. But the Lord of love, who allows no peer, has untwisted our tongues and tooled us new, to wield our words and whole world's hue. So take that poem as inspiration, get out there and make some things. Hew out some whole worlds. The peace of Christ be upon you.
What day is it today? Remind me.
It's Sunday, Mr. Pinch.
Sunday. And what do we do on a Sunday morning, wherever we happen to be? We go to church, you bloody heathen!